If I'm going to be making atheism content, that likely means I'll be reacting to a lot of theist content and telling you why I think they're wrong. It seems likely, almost certain, that I will run into many logical fallacies. So, while I'm certainly not the only one to cover the subject, I wanted to make sure anyone watching my channel had access to at least some basic understanding of what logical fallacies are, how to recognize them, and how they affect arguments. In this video, I will cover ad hominem attacks. I wanted to address this one first, not because it starts with A, but in a different way than the other logical fallacies, ad hominem attacks have the power to really divide people and prevent any possibility of coming to an understanding. Let's start with a definition. An ad hominem, according to dictionary.com, is attacking an opponent's character or motives rather than answering the argument or claim, or appealing to one's prejudices, emotions, or special interests rather than to one's intellect or reason. For instance, if you tell me that 2 plus 2 is 5, and I respond by saying, "No, you're an idiot," that's an ad hominem attack. I would be disparaging your intelligence rather than addressing the content of what you told me at all. Your level of intelligence, whatever it is not the factor that determines what 2 plus 2 is. Let's ramp it up a bit. Let's say person A suspects that person B cheated on them. B claims they didn't cheat. If A retorts to that by saying, "Well, you're a liar," that's another ad hominem. A is attacking B's character instead of demonstrating their claim that B cheated. Maybe B even is a habitual liar, but that doesn't necessarily mean they cheated. An accusation of B being a liar does not serve to resolve the conflict because it fails to address the issue at hand at all. And that's why ad hominem attacks are so bad. If your goal is to come to a mutual understanding, whatever the conflict might be, ad hominem attacks accomplish exactly the opposite. They serve to shut down communication rather than build it. And now, instead of a debate, you have a fight on your hands. Emotions can flare. A civil argument can devolve into useless and irrelevant name-calling, or saying something that you can't easily take back later. And now you find yourself with a severely reduced chance of coming to a resolution, at least in the immediate future. So why do people use ad hominem attacks? Well, in some cases, it's just easier than building a case. Maybe one side is checked out of the argument or doesn't care about it anymore, so they just dismiss the other side with, "You're so stupid." Or, potentially, somebody has no proof. In the cheating example, quite possibly, A didn't catch B cheating, so an ad hominem was all they had to stand on. Or sometimes, an ad hominem is an intentional misdirect. It could be used to distract from the issue or to gaslight the other person. "You said you would clean out the garage." "I didn't say that, you're crazy." Or it could be used on a larger scale as a persuasive tool to convince an audience to think one way or the other, such as with political ads calling the other side evil or immoral rather than addressing the issue. Recognizing an ad hominem is ostensibly straightforward. It's just a matter of noticing that your opponent in an argument is deflecting from the issue and making it about you instead. But it can still be hard to detect, especially if emotions are getting heated on one or both sides. So what can you do? Well, that really depends on what your goal is. I'm not a psychologist, I'm not your caretaker, I'm not here to make that decision for you. In some cases, once an argument has broken down into ad hominem attacks, it can't be salvaged, at least not right then. If you still want to try to come to an understanding with each other, your best bet might be to take a beat, breathe, calm down, come back to it later when emotions aren't so charged. Sometimes it may be best to drop the matter entirely for the sake of the relationship. Other times, and especially if you believe the person is intentionally gaslighting you, you might not want to engage with that person anymore at all if you can. Easier done with a stranger than with, say, a family member. If you can't avoid them, maybe it's sufficient to just note for yourself that the person behaved in that way so you can make a decision for yourself on how to react to that in the future. But recognizing it is the important bit. That way you get to make that decision for yourself rather than simply react and possibly react in exactly the way that they wanted you to. One last note. As with any logical fallacy, if you catch someone using an ad hominem attack, it doesn't automatically mean their position is wrong. It does mean that statement can't be used to support the position. But for instance, what if B did cheat on A? And for the record, cheating is a terrible thing to do to somebody. But it was left ambiguous for a reason. We don't know if B cheated. The point is, levying attacks on B's character can never, by itself, determine whether or not it happened. In that case, A would have to find another way to deal with their suspicions. But anyway, that's ad hominem attacks in a nutshell. Hopefully you're better prepared to deal with them or at least recognize them the next time they happen. Have a good one.